Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back to another episode of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with me, your host. My name is Chad Medved. You already know. Welcome to the Christmas episodes officially. This is the first guest that is going to ring us in to the holiday season, and who better than good old Jolly St Nick. But before we get to the episode with Santa, a little other Christmas event coming up. As you know, you heard on the last couple episodes, I am throwing the second annual I'll Call You Right Back Christmas event. This year, it is going to be December 18th, this Sunday, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. I got 6 tickets left. It is going to be a double feature Christmas movie celebration down at the Parkway Theater in McKees Rocks, and we are going to watch Home Alone 1 and Gremlins. And in between both movies, we're going to have a little intermission. I'm going to do some trivia. We're going to have some prizes. We're going to do an ugly sweater contest, and then Streets on Carson is going to bring some snacks for us all to enjoy. And another plus while the intermission is going on, Parkway has a giant screen down there, and they will be showing the Steelers game that is happening, and I'm sure they're going to be showing the World Cup game. But 6 tickets left if you want to come to the fun. www.I'llCallYouRightBack.com. Under the merch tab, you can go to my link in my bio on Instagram at I'll Call You Right Back. Grab yourself a ticket. I hope to see you there. But the reason that everyone is here this week I have a very special guest. Like I said, who more important to ring in Christmas time than the Santa Claus? I mean, come on now. This week, I sit down with Ron Thompson, a.k.a. the Steel City Santa, and he has been doing this for 30 years. For 3 decades, he's been bringing joy to the boys and girls of Pittsburgh. And I reached out to him through, actually, it was awesome how this kind of came to be. Chad Townsend from Millie's. I saw on his Instagram, he was dressing up as Santa Claus, and his wife Lauren saw on my Instagram that I was looking to speak to a Santa Claus. She commented on where they got Chad's costume, which is a spotlight costume down at McKees Rocks, and that just happens to be Ron and his partner's costume shop, his significant other Kim, and they have been running this costume shop for quite a while. It was originally in Southside, now it's in McKees Rocks, but that's how I came across Ron. Reached out to him, asked him if he'd like to come on the podcast and talk to me about Christmas. I need it. I love Christmas. There's nothing more that I love. Actually, I probably love Halloween and Christmas probably equally, but I'm in the Christmas vibes right now. But Ron comes over, we sit down, we have a fantastic conversation about his, how he kind of fell into the role of Santa and what's kept him in the suit for 30 years. He does the shows on the Gateway Clipper Fleet. He has been doing that mainly, that's where he does most of his work during the holidays. Like, they do shows every weekend during the week, and he's always down there working. So if you were ever on one of the Gateway Clipper shows and there was a Santa there in the past 30 years, this is him. He's a great dude. I had a wonderful time talking to him. Movie buff. He got some good stories about being one of the main, now the only costume shop, but one of the main costume shops during some of the filming of the big films in Pittsburgh. But I will not talk your ears off much longer. And I appreciate everyone as usual. It's going to be a hell of a time at that Christmas event. If you are looking for a good Christmas event, I urge you, grab one of them remaining 6 tickets. It's going to be a good ass time. I personally have never seen Home Alone or Gremlins on the big screen. I am pretty geeked about it. But without further ado, episode 226 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with Ron Thompson, a.k.a. Santa Claus.
I gotta use the telephone.
Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back. Call you right back.
Telephone.
I'll Call You Right Back podcast. I like the fact that you could recycle the cans. I interviewed a lady who worked for Allegheny Cleanways,
Okay.
which is they specialize in illegal dumping cleaning.
Sure.
And they do all these. They have all these statistics on their website, and I believe that just in Allegheny County, in the last couple years, they've taken out 42,000 tires, over 5 million pounds of trash. And then the one day I'm interviewing someone and he drank like 4 bottles of water. And I'm like, I feel like an asshole kind of, because I'm just like, these are just 4 bottles that I'm just putting into a landfill now. But I got the cans now because they're a little bit more recyclable.
I work part-time at a grocery store, and I get to stock this. The boxes that these come in,
They're awesome.
incredible. I kept the boxes. My boss goes, "Why do you want the garbage?" I said, "This isn't garbage. This is art. Look at this." He goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, whatever, take it."
They're very good at marketing. Like they always have a good marketing scheme. Or did you watch the Super Bowl by chance?
No, I'm not a sports fan, believe it or not.
Me either, but someone told me about the Liquid Death commercial, and I guess it was a bunch of kids cheer like chugging these cans, and it's playing like Breaking the Law in the background, and it's meant to look like they're partying, but it's obviously water. But just clever marketing. But so I mean, getting back to how I came across you.
Okay.
I every year for this podcast I try to make episodes kind of topical. We're in December, so I love Christmas, and I want to kind of cater to that feeling. And last year I talked to Santa Claus, and then I talked to multiple other people that do different things. And I put on Facebook, I'm looking for a Santa Claus, and someone actually mentioned the costume shop in West End.
Yes, that couple that came in.
Yeah.
They own
Millie's.
They own Millie's.
Chad and Lauren Townsend.
They came in and I think they wanted to rent a suit.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Oh no, well we've got these." And I showed them the $100 suit. Those are the suits I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Because they wholesaled for $500.
These suits did.
Yes, and they're beautiful. They're corduroy. They're heavy duty. They'd fit you. They fit me. So they'll fit just about anybody.
Yeah.
And so I said, it comes complete: wig, beard, gloves, boot tops, everything. You out the door, you're Santa.
Wow.
And they go, "Oh, this is great." And I said, "If you're happy with it, the best thing you could do for me is to just mention us.
Yeah.
Whether it's you tag us in a post, or you take a picture and say, 'Hey, we got this at Spotlight Costumes.'" And then they did the video, and I wrote back. I said, "Hey man, you look great. What a great day," because that's the day that we got all that real quickie heavy snow.
Yeah,
and they're outside in it, and it looks, wow, that was really.
It was
good.
very fitting. Yeah,
Yes.
he was doing a little toy drive at the different Millie locations.
Yes.
And but he was like, you should look up this this costume shop. And then she mentioned, is it Halco?
Yeah, Halco is the name of the company.
The brand of suits
that makes the suits, and they were in Bell Vernon. They were in Pittsburgh until they closed a couple years ago, but. We would make conservatively maybe 250,000 suits of various qualities, like either the lined ones that you would wear if you're outside to like the inexpensive ones you'd purchase like at a chain store. And so one side of our warehouse would be all of the raw materials. On the other side would be all the finished stuff. And we were like that. They made them all there. And then as things progressed, they took their business to China because of, whatever was going on in the company. And unfortunately, that's when quality went
compromised.
Straight. Yes, very much so. We'd get containers in and we'd have to open every single suit to make sure that they cut it.
Quality control and everything.
Which kind of negated doing it over there. You could do it here and know it's right.
Yeah, no, it's right the first time rather than go back. Right. Now, let me ask you just to clarify. Sure. So you said that you had the raw materials in your spot. Did that mean that...
No, the Halcos were built out in Bell Vernon.
Yeah.
Those weren't built at Spotlight Costumes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Sure. So they were a local company here?
They were in Pittsburgh for... decades.
Yeah, see, I didn't know anything about this really, and then she mentioned it, and then I looked at that, and I actually didn't know you were affiliated with Spotlight Costumes. I don't remember who tagged you on my Instagram or how we got. Was it Lauren who tagged you?
Probably.
I think it might have been, but full circle, we're here, and I can't be more excited to sit down and talk with you about this.
I've got tons of stories. I got happy Santa stories. I've got sad Santa stories.
I'm sure.
So whatever you want to hear about, I'll tell you about.
You said this was 3 decades. You've been a Santa.
This is my 31st year.
31st year.
31st year doing Santa on the Gateway Clipper.
And are you a Pittsburgh local?
Yes, I was born and raised here in Pittsburgh.
And wow. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in it's a small community called Chalfont, and it's right, if you're familiar with where Churchill is.
Yeah.
If you go down the Greensburg Pike towards Turtle Creek, you'll pass Chalfont, and it's a little neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so I went to Churchill High School. I graduated first class of Woodland Hills in 1988 and got my degree in commercial art and graphic design at the Art Institute.
Oh, wow. What was your trajectory after school? What did you want to be?
My passion is commercial art, like designing logos and things like that, which I have done freelance since I graduated in 1991.
Yeah.
So I do things like that. And then with my significant other's business, I got into makeup and doing things like that, and then into airbrush makeup. So if you need to be scary, you want to be airbrushed for Halloween, we do that.
Wow.
Do a lot of zombies. It's real quick, easy. We do a lot of high school and semi-professional and professional theater, and a lot of times they will do shows where they need large groups of people made up. So,
quick amount of time.
I'll do airbrushing like Addams Family.
Oh.
You need to have all the ancestors made up. So you do a production line of airbrushing them, and I got a cast of 50 done in hour and a half.
Jeez.
So, and it's fun. It's light. It's easy. It's very quick. A lot of people are apprehensive about it, but you
probably get into a rhythm.
Yeah, you do. And then once people have it done, they tend to enjoy it. So they come back and they sit down and they're quiet and you're done.
I feel like that would be even more approachable than having a bunch of latex prosthetics on, because I was into dressing as zombies, and we had the bolts, the speared gum and everything, and that's always just like bulky on there. But whenever I worked at 100 Acres Manor for a year for
a great place.
School, fantastic. They did the quick airbrushing, and that was, like you said, it was light, it was easy to maneuver with, you didn't have to really worry about it.
Right.
But that's pretty interesting. Well, how long has Spotlight been there?
We have been in business since March 15th of 1988.
Wow.
We were down on the south side on East Carson Street for 27 years. And then, East Carson Street started to deteriorate. So we needed more space anyway. So we moved to the West End about 6 years ago.
Wow. That's incredible.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a small world. That's what it is. And you guys carry, all an array of different things?
We are primarily now, in 2009, we kind of got out of the retail business just because of the 30-day stores and the internet. We couldn't compete.
Yeah.
So we went back to our roots, and we're primarily a theatrical rental house.
Oh, okay.
I mean, anybody off the street can come in and rent one costume.
Yeah.
We can do that. We can rent 1,000 costumes for a show. Conservatively, we probably have around 500,000 costume pieces in our rental stock.
Jeez.
So, we're doing shows all the time. There is no downtime as far as it's like, oh, Halloween's over. You must be having an off free time. And I said, are you kidding?
Yeah.
It's like,
so you're doing stuff for plays,
yes.
Broadway performances, things like that.
Right.
So it's always on.
Right. Probably our most exciting is if you've ever seen the movie School Ties with Brendan Fraser.
School Ties. It sounds familiar.
I'm sure some people have, but anyway, it takes place in this. It's a boarding high school, a boarding school up in Middlesex, Massachusetts.
Yeah,
it's a real school. We go there twice a year, and they fly us up. Well, they don't fly us up. We drive everything up, and then they ship everything back. But my significant other stays there for a week, dresses the show, does the makeup and everything, and it's.
Wow.
It's one of those, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
Because one of her friends from college was their lighting designer. And when she got there, the director goes, we need somebody who does costumes. And she goes, oh, really? Well, let me turn you on to my friend.
Yeah.
And it's been since...
Went from there.
Yeah, it's been probably 30 years.
Wow.
We've been doing that. And it's a great place to go. It's a lovely experience, and it's very insular. It's it's once you step onto the ground, it's like you're not on planet Earth anymore. You're on
different world.
Yes, you're in a different place because they are self-contained.
Yeah, that's pretty. There's something great about someone who commits to a role and is just fully immersed. We went to we just went to Universal for Halloween.
Oh, that's a great
Universal and Disney, and it was like just like walking around those little like built sets and everything like that. It's just something a little bit different than some of the others. But now when was when was your interest for Santa? Like, when did that come into play?
Well, back in 1991, my friend, his name's Joe Navarro, and he was the entertainment director and down on the Gateway Clipper, and he still is. He left for a while, and then they brought him back. It's like the mob, you thought he was out and brought me back.
Pulled me right back in.
His Santa, the guy who played Santa had quit, and the guy that they wanted to do it wasn't really interested in it.
Yeah.
And he called me up and he said, "Hey, Ron, how would you like to be Santa on the Gateway Clipper?" And I'm thinking, no.
Because at this point, you're what? You're working at the costume shop.
I'm working at Spotlight, and I'm thinking, I've never really thought about it. And it's like, and then he told me, well, it pays this. And I said, I am so into Santa. And so I did it, and it just clicked. I really enjoyed it.
How old were you when you started this?
Oh, let's see. I'm 53 now, so if anybody can take off their shoes and socks and help me with that.
So you started this when you were 23, 24?
Yeah, about that, yeah. And I was, if you can believe it or not, I was much heavier back then. So I was a more portly Santa.
Yeah.
So it just blossomed. You get a taste for it, and it's like the end scene of Scrooged with Bill Murray, and he's saying, once you hit it, once you get it, you're going to want it. You're going to be hungry for it. You're going to be greedy for it. You're going to want it all the time. And it's true. You see the look in children's eyes and the joy that they have because they truly believe you are him.
Yeah.
And I would never compare myself to Jesus, but the way they go nuts.
Yeah.
When my DJ says, and here's Santa, and they go crazy.
Yeah, because it's
like you're a rock star, or they believe. And that's the best part, is that you have them in the palm of your hand. You have one chance to be a hero. Don't blow it.
Yeah.
And when you look them in the eye and you say to them, what can I bring you for Christmas? What would you like?
Yeah.
And you put it onto their level, that they're the most important thing. Because kids today, children, I don't have any children of my own, at least I don't think so.
Yeah.
They're seen but not heard. That's the general consensus with children, that don't do that, or don't be that, or don't be who you are.
Yeah.
And then when they're on my lap, the world is theirs.
It's their world.
I'm telling them that I want to know what you think. I want to know how you feel. I want you to tell me what's going on in your life, because you're the only thing that matters right now, is you and me.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, they will open up and they will talk to you, and you just listen, because that's the one thing they really want, is to be listened to for just that brief moment in time that they are there with you. And then you send them on their way, and they're having a great time.
Yeah, and it's something that they think about for, days and months after that.
Yeah, I mean, I have had people come on that were children, they're bringing their own children on, like generations. And when you see that, it's like, oh my God, I am that old.
I was, I worked at, we had this thing where I grew up in McKeesport called Festival of the Trees, and they had a Santa Claus there. And one day, I don't know what happened. I guess he just was a no-show. I am a portly fellow. I was 13 years old. I was in Boy Scouts. We were volunteering there just to light the luminaria candles.
Yeah.
And they were like, do you want to maybe fill in to be Santa Claus? And like I said, I'm 13, 14. Sit down. Kid gets on my lap. This is literally the second kid, whole hot chocolate on my lap. And then that was my initiation to it. But I ended up playing him for the whole rest of the time that they had it. But, fast forward all those years, it always stuck with me just because I always thought about like how much it meant to me. Like it was such a big deal for me going to the mall and like waiting in line and like, that's your chance. You're telling them what's going on. This is your chance. And, now that I don't have kids either, but my brother has children and there's a lot more cousins that are having children now. So I was like, I'm going to be the fun uncle and, I'm going to buy a suit and I'm going to go there and I'm going to really embrace it. And that's what I did last year. And it was pretty incredible.
It is. It's so much fun. And like I said, I don't have kids either. I'm the fun uncle. I'm the toy uncle. I'm the loud toy, the obnoxious toy uncle.
I love it.
And it is. It's like, now I'm getting back at my siblings. It's like, that stuff you put me through. Guess what? The kid's getting something loud.
Yeah. My brother's daughter is, she's about to be turning 3 and she has an obsession with Spider-Man right now. So went on eBay and I found one of them silly string web blasters.
Yes, those are awesome.
And I was like, I'm going to get her that. That's it right now. That and some walkie-talkies. It's going to be funny.
There you go. Next year, it's a drum kit.
Yeah, next year, a full drum kit. But, for you to, kind of jump into being Santa Claus and just kind of gravitating towards it right away, what's like the crowd on the Gateway Clipper? Is it all adults? Because at first when you told me, I imagined like, work parties. But then I was like, oh, there's probably like brunches with kids.
The Santa cruises are mostly families with children. But a couple years ago, they started putting me on the nighttime cruises, the Captain's Dinner Cruise or the Sparkle Cruise. And those are usually parties, like company parties, things like that. And it worked. People want it now.
Yeah.
They want Santa at their Christmas party or something like that. What was it? Saturday night. We had a Captain's Dinner Cruise. And there was a 65th wedding anniversary party.
Wow.
And then there was a wedding reception. And the one side is all African American, and the other side is all white folk from West Virginia. And as soon as the music started playing, it was like they all knew each other for 100 years because they all started dancing with each other, laughing with each other. And it was, I don't know if it was the food. I don't know if it was the season. I don't know if it was the music, but it was beautiful to see that two inherently different cultures got together over something as simple as music and enjoyed each other like they were all family.
Yeah.
It was beautiful to see. And so I came down as Santa, and one of the people from the wedding party comes up to me and says, "Santa, do you remember me from last year?" And I'm looking at her and I'm thinking real hard. I'm getting my mental Rolodex out and I'm spinning through it. And I'm like, no. But I said, "Of course, how are you?" And she goes, "Remember I asked for a husband last year? This is my husband. Thank you for bringing him to me."
Wow.
And I was like, and then I'm looking at her again and I'm thinking, no, I still don't know you.
Yeah.
But it's like there's so many, but I said to her, "Well, I hope he's your size." And she goes, "Yes, he's perfect. He's a perfect fit." And I said, "I'm glad that I helped facilitate that."
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. And that's one of the gifts that I get from being Santa, is to hear those types of stories.
Yeah.
That somebody's happy.
Yeah, those are memories that stick in their mind.
Yes, is that I remember I asked Santa for a husband, and then by the next Christmas I had one. And it was nice. It was a nice thing.
Now, when you were growing up, like what kind of time did you have around Christmas? Like was your family a big Christmas family, decorating?
Oh, my God, yes. I don't know what time after Thanksgiving, if it was directly the next day, but my parents all had, we had a Christmas tree. My dad was into model trains, so there was a train under it. And, when the Sears and the JCPenney catalog came, that was everything. And because I was the third of 4 children, I had to wait until both of my older brothers, thumbed through it before I got a handle on it. But Christmas was a big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Yeah, same for us. Like we always had, Dad always decorated, always had a tree, and then for Christmas Eve we always had like a big event. Our house was like the meeting grounds. You know, we had 30 people at one point. Now it's definitely tapered off. People have moved away. Sure. Getting older and everything, but it was always such a big thing, and it's always been something that really stuck with me. So I always, I don't know, I always like how you hear about someone's origin story, and you messaged me back and you said, I've been here for 30 years doing this, so you obviously like it enough to keep at it.
I do. It's it's fun, and the Gateway Clipper is extremely generous.
Yeah.
With what they pay me for what I do. I sit on my ass for 2 hours at a time, and they pay me wonderfully. They feed me, they water me. They, it's like, oh, whatever you want, go up and get whatever you want to eat, get whatever you want to drink. And, on the captain's cruises at night, they have this incredible buffet, and the line captain goes, Rana, whatever you want, I'll make you a plate. And it's like, that's awesome. Well,
you're the VIP. That's what it is.
Well, I'm just another one of the schlubs down there. I don't consider myself the star of the show. It's just like I walk down there and it's like, we're all family. So, nobody's more important than the other.
Yeah. So. Now, whenever you started getting into this, like, are you someone that is, do you you put on the suit and it's as far as that, or do you like kind of get a backstory? Are you kind of researching? Do you got different like trinkets, tokens?
No, not so. It's like being an actor, once you put on for lack of a better word, your costume, you are that person.
Yeah.
So, I'm no longer Ron Thompson, Pittsburgher. I am Santa Claus. And so I carry myself as, I don't take myself that seriously that, I'm Santa. It's like they expect, the ho, ho, ho. They expect the jolliness. They expect the attentiveness. So that's what I give them. But I make sure that I know all the toys, what's hot this year and things like that.
Didn't even think about that.
Oh, you have to research. My significant other, Kim, goes, have you researched? Do you know what's popular this year?
What's a popular toy this year?
You know what? Everything's electronic.
Yeah.
It's whatever games are out there. You still get occasionally some children that, I want Hot Wheels, or I want a board game or something like that.
Wow, I feel like I would never hear that. I would feel like every answer would be like, I want an Xbox or a PlayStation.
I get a couple of those, and you every once off, and you get a little kid. I want a vacuum cleaner. I like to help my parents clean. Or,
wow.
A little boy wants an easy bake oven, or a little girl wants tool set. And the answer is, I'll do my very best. You never promise them anything, but you also don't tell them no. I remember going to see Santas when I was little, and they were like you were wasting their time. Like they really didn't care. And so when I got the chance to be Santa, it's like, no, I'm not going to give them that. I'm going to give them the experience that I always wanted.
Yeah.
And I even do that when I'm, just myself as an uncle. It's like, I remember the good times because I had this my Uncle Joe, who died when I was very little, but my one and only memory of him, and I was really little because he could pick me up. He picked me up with one hand and he put me against the ceiling. And I remember laughing hard as I could, like almost hyperventilating laughing. And he's looking up at me with this smile on his face, like egging me on. That is the feeling I want to give children. I want to give them that absolute joy of being around somebody that cares that they're there.
Yeah, cares enough to give it 100%.
Yes, exactly. And I think that is... I don't want to over romanticize it, but that's my obligation. That is what I have been hired to do. And I'm not doing it because I was hired to do it. I'm doing it because I want to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. You got to want to do it because I'm sure that there's good and the bad with everything, like always.
Honestly, I can't think of any bad that goes along with being Santa. You
haven't had any bad experiences?
I wouldn't say a bad experience. There's sad experiences when you're talking to children. One of the first child that I had on my lap, he comes and he sits down, and I say, "What can I bring you for Christmas?" And he says, "Santa, I'm not going to be here for Christmas." And I said, "What do you mean you're not going to be here for Christmas?" And he said to me, he looked me dead in the eye. He said, "My parents told me that I have something called cancer, and I'm going to be with Jesus. So I'm not going to be here for his Christmas. I'm going to be in heaven." And I said, well, heaven is so close to the North Pole. You're the first place I stop. So I need to know what you want for Christmas. And he told me, and he left. And I looked over at Joe, my handler, and he goes, you got to keep it together.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's like, I will. And it was after that I just sat down. It's like, this is real.
Yeah,
this is
real.
Really real.
Like in that kid's last moments, you know, you're one of the experiences that he have.
And he was very grounded. He wasn't scared or crying. He was just like, because I guarantee you, he probably really didn't understand the repercussions of what he was told.
Yeah.
But he was just like, he was very matter of fact. I'm gonna be in heaven with Jesus, and that's cool. And so instead of just sitting there gobsmacked, well, I don't know what to say now. You have to tell them that it's all right. And so that's one of the sadder stories, but a lot of them are very fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. And whenever I said negative, I didn't think anything like that.
Oh no,
I was more talking about, you know, a kid accidentally relieving themselves on your lap or something like that.
I've never had that, touch wood.
Well, that's nice.
But there was this one little girl, and she is dressed in this beautiful velvet and fur dress, like a female Santa, and she sits down on my lap, and she has a beautiful blonde curly hair. And she was so excited, she vomited, but not a lot, just like a tiny little bit of whatever she was eating right beforehand. And she starts crying and saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Santa. Now I'm not going to get anything for Christmas." And I said, "Can I tell you a secret?" And I get her real close to my face, and I said, "But you can't tell anybody this secret." And she's still crying. She goes, "What?" And I said, "Sometimes Rudolph pulls the sleigh so fast because he's so excited to deliver the presents that sometimes I get sick, like being in a car sick." And she goes, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, really, but you can't tell anybody. That's our secret that you have to keep between you and me." And that relieved all the tension. And I said, "So now that we have a secret between us and we're like secret friends, I need to know what you want for Christmas."
Yeah.
And she did, and she was happy. And, because, no child wants to think that they're not going to get anything because they just were a human being.
Yeah.
It's an accident. So, it's little things like that you have to be on your toes and ready for. So, you have to be ready for any contingency, kind of, like a Boy Scout or the Marines or.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would never even think of like these different situations that you got to deal with.
It is. It's like I'm not always worried about it, but I'm always thinking, what's going to happen next?
Yeah, on your toes.
There was one year. This little girl came up, and she was in this white fur coat. She looked like a little Tsarina because she had the fur hat and everything on, this blonde curly hair. And she sits down on my lap, and I said, "What can I bring you for Christmas?" And the parents leaned in and said, "We just adopted her from Russia. She speaks absolutely no English."
Oh, wow.
And so, being the cinephile that I am, I turned to her and I go, "Strasvidanya," which means hello in Russian. And she goes, "Santa, nu po-ruski," which means, "Santa, you speak English or speak Russian." And I said, "Pokoi," which means a little. And she starts talking in Russian so fast. I'm just like, nodding my head saying, "Da, da, da."
Yeah.
And after that, she says, "Spasibo, Santa," which means thank you. And I said, "Spasibo." And she jumps and runs away. And the parents go, "Do you really speak Russian?" And I said, "I watched Hunt for Red October last night, and that is the only reason I know anything to talk to her about." But she was,
I love that,
happy as a clam.
Yeah, I love that.
It's all coincidence. It really is. I had a little girl. They were visiting the United States from England, and she gets on my lap and she goes, "I don't think you're the real Father Christmas." And I said, "And why would you think that?" And she goes, "I don't think you know how to get to my house. You need to prove it to me." And I said, "Oh, really? Where are we living now?" And this is all coincidence too. She goes, "I live in Staines in England." A friend of ours who owned a costume shop in England lived in Staines.
No way.
And like I said, this is all dumb luck. This is no heightened intelligence that I have gained over the years being Santa. And I said, oh, well, that's so easy. I fly into Gatwick Airport, take the M25 to the M1, get off at the Staines exit, and I make the left at the mall. That mall that's right off of the exit? She goes, yes. I said, I make the left and I take it down 4 blocks to your street.
That is ridiculous.
And she goes, you Father Christmas. And I lean back and I'm like,
yeah, you made yourself out of another one.
Like, there's another hole I dug myself out of.
Wow. That's cool to hear that. Like, I mean, it got to be fun and it got to be exhilarating to like try to just keep ready. What are the ages? Like what are the ages of like obviously the youngest kids are babies, but like when do kids start dying? Like not dying off, but like
I know
terrible.
what you mean. When they stop believing.
Yeah.
Probably in their late teens, not in the late teens. I'm late preteens. 11, 12. They have their, it's like, this isn't real anymore.
Yeah.
But for the most part, when they come on, they do want to see you. They do want a picture. And I do ask them. I ask everybody who comes up. I don't care how old they are. And I had a couple years ago, a woman in her 90s. She could barely walk. They wheeled her up in a wheelchair right to me. And I went to her. I got out of my Santa throne and go up to her. And she said, I have never, ever told Santa my Christmas wish. I've never visited with Santa. I've never sat with Santa. And I'd like to do that tonight. And I said, I would be honored if you would. They helped her up and she sat on my lap and they took pictures. And she said, thank you. And I said, I'm the one who should be thanking you. You honored me by making me your first and only Santa.
Yeah.
And it is an honor because there are a lot of people that don't, because either they never wanted to, never had the opportunity to.
Scared to. I mean, because a lot of times, and I'm sure it is, Santa can be scary. He's a stranger. He's like everything that you tell your children 100%
not to do. Don't talk to strangers. Don't go near strangers. Don't touch strangers.
I think about that all the time.
But every Christmas, you're taking your kid to some person that they don't know and expect them to sit on their lap and not scream their heads off.
Taking a candy cane from a stranger.
Taking candy from a stranger.
Yeah.
And it's like, do we know how much we're confusing children by doing this? And that's why when they come up to me and they're apprehensive, I'll say, do you want to take a picture? I put the ball 100% in their court. I'll say, do you want to sit with me?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they do, and I'll pick them up and I'll put them on my lap. A lot of times they don't. I said, well, will you stand next to me for a picture? They will.
Yeah.
If you give them an opportunity, if you talk to them like they're a little adult and give them some autonomy, they'll
a little bit less intimidating.
Yes, it is when you tell them that it's okay to say no, because it is okay to say no. Like they'll say, oh, go give Santa a hug. And it's like, I just look at them. I said, do you want to give me a hug? And they look at you and I said, it's okay to say no. Yeah. And some will say yes and some will say no. And I said, well, can we fist bump or will you give me a high five? Most of them are cool with that. But, it's just, to my way of thinking, if you give them choice, they'll make a choice. Yeah, choices. And then they're comfortable with it. They're not being told what to do. They're being asked, what do you feel like doing? Yeah. And is that okay?
That makes sense.
And it's just, and it's not as scary for them when they're not being barked at to say, sit with Santa.
Yeah, they don't have a choice.
Give Santa a hug or do this. Because if you put it on their level, then they have that, they're in charge, and they like that for just a few moments out of their life is that I got to decide.
Yeah. I got a little bit of time with the big man.
Yeah, and it was good. And a lot of times, if they're apprehensive at first, over the course of the cruise, they'll come back and it's like, no, now it's more comfortable that I've seen him. I've seen how he's interacting with other people. And I try to be very vocal with them. When they come to me, I say, hey, how are you? I'm so happy to see you. I'm so glad you're here. Are you having a good time? I'm glad you're here with us, because I really want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what you want for Christmas. That's the most important thing is what you have to say.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's so interesting because like kids are, you have no idea what you're going to get with them, And like, that's your main, that's the customer base basically.
Exactly. If they've had a good time, they're going to talk about it in the car on the way home.
Yeah.
About, that was the real Santa. He knew everything. And, because I'm not in costume when they're all coming on, I get to hear little snippets of people's conversations.
Oh, so you go in dressed regular.
Yeah. Because they don't bring me on right away. They have this whole pre-show stuff. And what was it, on Saturday? I'm standing there talking to my DJ, and this family comes on, and there's this little boy named Hunter, and they're talking to Hunter this, Hunter that. And then when they come up, I say real loud, Hunter, it's so good to see you. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh,
and
wow.
the mother's head swings around, and she goes, how do you know my son's name? And I just turned to her, and I had my glasses on. I tip them down. I go, because I'm Santa.
Yeah.
And she didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
Like,
that's good though. Those are the moments where you're like, all right, this is gonna, like you pulling the thing about Staines, England out of your mind.
It's like, it's just, it's little things. But it's the best is when there's people that come on the boat that don't know that you're Santa.
Oh, wow.
What was it? One Christmas, girl I went to elementary school with was on with her kids, and I recognized her because she didn't, older, but she didn't look that different. And their daughter's up on my lap, and I said, I want you to ask your mom, Amy, about when she did blah, blah. And I see her, after she's done meeting with me, go running back and pull her mom down and said whatever she said. And she looks over at me with these eyes, and she's like, I'm like, wagging my finger at her. And I didn't announce myself afterwards. I just let her stew with that for the rest of the cruise and the rest of her life.
Yeah.
I never bothered because
she's still thinking about it right now.
Still thinking about it. It's like, who the heck? Just another one of the fun things I get to do.
Now, are you only working on the Gateway Clipper? Do you do it anywhere else?
No, I do it during the pandemic when we didn't have cruises. I started my Steel City Santa Instagram and Facebook pages, and said, hey, if you want a Santa, I'll come to your house for pictures and meet and greet with the kids, and that took off.
Yeah,
and that's why I have a following after, or not after, but while during Christmas, and I do. Actually, a friend went to high school with Tyler Kennedy's wife.
Oh yeah,
and so she was talking to my friend, and she goes, hey. Do you know anybody who's Santa? We need one for the Tyler Kennedy Foundation. They do a winter classic. And she goes, yes, I do, in fact. And I went and did that, and this will be my second year going to their to the hockey tournament that they have. And I know this goes without saying, but they are lovely people. He's as real gets. Just nice Pittsburghers. They're just nice people, and they've got a great thing going on. So it's always fun to help them. And
yeah, that's great. That it sounds like a fantastic. It is a fantastic time. I've only done it a couple times, but I look forward to it every year now. I like getting dressed up, and it's fun. It's fun to be able to to know the inside things. My buddy who I spoke with last year, he doesn't go anywhere. He has a different type of service that's like a virtual.
Sure.
But it's cool because, you could, them moments where you could almost prove to these kids that like you're some sort of level of magician almost, where you know these things. He gets parents to like submit questionnaires with a little bit of information, so you could work it all in, and that's such a cool thing. That's just adds that it solidifies that you're really the guy.
Yes, it's just one of those things that makes it more fun. A couple years I wore an earpiece, and I had my elves talking to the children in line to get their names. So when they would come to me, I knew their names right away, or I could call them from the chair, and that would like straighten them up real quick when you call them by name.
That is insane.
It just little things that they're not paying attention that the elf has an earpiece, and they're talking back to me. So
I'm
just listening.
That's such an insider move. That's a good move, a veteran move. Now, this suit that you have, whenever you started this out, I know there's different types of Santas.
Sure.
A whole plethora of them. Can you give me a rundown of, I know that there's a real beard Santa. I know that there's there's the Santa with like the older robes. Is it, I don't even know the subcategory. I was trying to look them up.
Well, as far as our Santa suits go that we rent at Spotlight Costumes, they're mostly of a nice velvet suit. That's what everybody wants, is that, think Macy's Santa and that dark red suit with the white fur. That's primarily the most popular ones. But as far as real beard Santas go, a lot of real beard Santas have their own custom made suits.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't want to say that's all they do, because I'm sure they do other things as well. But if you got a
real gray beard,
yes, if you're a real beard Santa, you're Santa all the time. There's no undercover. But it's a nice thing to do because it adds a touch of realism to it. But I've never, as a non-real beard Santa, I've never had anybody complain, or nobody's ever pulled on it, or said,
you never had a kid pull your beard off.
Never had a child try. I had one year, this little kid, guess he was maybe preteen, said, "I'm going to pull your beard off in front of all these people. What are you going to do about that?" And I just looked him straight in the eye and I said, "You pull my beard off, I'm throwing you in the river." And he goes, "You wouldn't." I said, "Try me." I said, "You ruin it for me, I'm going to ruin it for you."
Yeah.
Because it's cold.
Yeah. And
he straightened up and I said, he goes, "Oh, well, I wasn't really going to do it." And I said, "I know."
Yeah. Yeah, because it would be crazy.
But other than that, no one's ever tried to. I've had little babies tug on it because, they're always grabbing something. But for the most part, everybody's always been cool and, played along. And
that's good then. What about the adult parties? Is that a little bit more chaotic?
You add alcohol to anything.
That's what I figured.
And it does. You asked about bad experiences, and now you just reminded me. I've kind of put this out. There was one night that I was sexually assaulted by two women in Santa, and
that's terrible. I don't mean to laugh at you.
I know. Of course, you don't mean to laugh. Sexual assault is not funny, and it wasn't. It was. And it's like I'm trying to be this character, and you have had too much alcohol, and you will not leave.
Yeah,
and it's I don't want to say it's par for the course or it goes with the territory, because something like that never should.
But it does.
Anywhere at any time, but it does. And I stayed cool about it and just,
I guess
my teeth and bared it.
I guess you'd have to assume that type of thing would happen.
That has only happened once.
Well, that's good.
But they do. The adults, they get into it. For the most part, they will, they'll be kids again and take pictures and pose, and it's nice. I think it gives them a different degree of fun for a few moments.
Yeah, a little bit of an escape.
Yes. And, once everybody's seen me, I'm ushered off and they can enjoy themselves in their party. And I never become a novelty.
Yeah.
I never become like a sideshow attraction. It's like, oh, Santa's here now. Santa's gone. Oh, well,
yeah,
I'm glad he was here. And, I never stay too long.
Yeah, that's good.
I never overstay.
Always leave them wanting more.
Yes. Yes, always leave them wanting more. Give them that old Irish goodbye.
Yeah. Now, were you, like while you're doing this, have you ever had any opportunities where you were Santa for pets?
Oh yes, I have done that. I've gone to people's houses and taken pictures.
How's that?
It's wonderful. It is absolutely delightful. Because usually what I will do is I will go in not dressed as Santa, for people who want their pets done, and hang out with the pet and give them treats and stuff like that, so they know me. And I let them smell the suit, let them smell the wig and beard.
That makes sense.
So it's not this complete stranger coming in.
That you're not getting bit.
Right, I'm not getting bit. So you get them comfortable with you, and then it's like, oh, this is the same person, only they don't look the same, but they smell the same, so it's okay.
Yeah.
And so I've done that for friends who, for maybe 3 or 4 years now, I go over to their house every Christmas and get pictures with everybody, and they usually have some matching outfits, whether it's pajamas or,
Oh yeah,
or sweaters or
my
something.
mom just took her 2 dogs. They have back where we grew up. They do they got a Santa, and everyone brings their animals. And she said there had to be 40 dogs there, but just crazy, chaotic.
Yes, it's chaos, but you have to understand
There's beauty in it.
Yes, there's beauty in the chaos, and you're the eye of the storm. So
Now, what's your December like whenever you're not working through all this? Are you a big Christmas guy yourself? House decorated, things like that?
I put my Christmas tree up when Kim goes. My significant other Kim goes to Boston to the school.
Yeah,
I always put the tree up while she's gone, so when she comes back, poof, the tree is there.
love it.
And I'm a big nostalgic Christmas, so my Christmas tree is white with pink lights on it and pink ornaments. I want it to look like my grandparents' tree did when I was little, because I want that when you turn out all the lights and turn the tree on, the house is bathed in pink.
Wow.
I want it to look like,
I know exactly what you're talking
candy
about.
Christmas. And last year we had a silver tree at the store, and it got damaged in storage. So Kim wanted a silver tree, and I'm thinking, oh, I don't want a silver tree. I want a pink tree.
Yeah.
And so I acquiesced, and I put up the silver tree, but there are pink bulbs on it and pink tinsel on it. So I got my pink in, and it's lovely. I'm glad I did
got what you wanted.
I'm glad I did what I was told, and I'm the king of the castle until she gets home.
Yes.
So I put up the tree, and it's lovely. It's fantastic, and it's very nice, and she's happy. I'm happy. Everybody's happy. But yes, I love having the tree up, and I love gifts. I'm big on giving gifts. I'm not really. How do I say I'm uncomfortable with getting presents? Yeah. I'm one of those, and I know this sounds terrible, but I don't feel like I'm worthy of gifts. It's like you can tell me Merry Christmas, and that's fine, but I really don't need anything.
I'm good at giving gifts. I love giving gifts.
I love the look on people's faces, and it's that anticipation. It's like
100%.
I know what you're getting. I know what you're getting.
And I'm like thoughtful to a fault almost sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like my wife will tell me something in April, and like I'll remember it, and then it'll just pop up for Christmas, and she'll be like, "Holy shit, you remembered that?"
Yeah. I did that with a friend who got married this year. He started working, and just little things she would say in casual passing conversations, and so that's what I got her as Christmas as wedding gifts.
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
Because I don't like being told what to buy. So you've got a registry. Who cares? I'm not looking at that anyway. I'm getting you what I want. And so I got her all these things that she had talked about. That she likes Grey Goose vodka, and she likes these things and other things. And so that's what I bought her a quesadilla maker, because she mentioned that. And so we got her quesadilla maker and a bottle of Grey Goose.
That's
and
awesome.
all this other stuff. And she goes, "You actually listened to what I said." And I said, "Now, could you imagine if the guy you married did the same thing?" And she goes, "Oh, I'm working on it."
Yeah.
It's like, well, good.
I know, right?
But it's just one of those things that, it shows when you listen, whether as a husband, as a significant other, or as Santa, it shows you care.
Yeah.
Because you're paying attention and you're absorbing the things that they say because you genuinely care.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. What about, do you have like nieces? I know you said you have 3 siblings. You got nieces and nephews?
I have, let's see, I'm trying to think of how many, because I have cousins. I have 2 brothers. One of them has 2 children. I have 3 sisters that I have, let's see, two. So that's, 4, 6.
You got a decent.
I've got
decent amount.
I've got 10 nieces and nephews that are blood related, and then I've got all my cousins who have kids, and actually my cousins are coming in. The 4 cousins who all have at least 2 or 3 kids apiece are coming in to be on the boat, and I'm thinking, I don't know how you're affording this, but God bless you. I can't wait to see you.
Oh, I bet,
because they've never been on the boat to see me as Santa.
Now that's what I was going to ask. Like, are you, for your family, are you Santa Claus?
No, absolutely not. My parents have never come on the boat to see me. Kim has only come on once in 31 years. She goes, yeah, once is enough.
Yeah.
And somebody, what was it? She was sitting at the bar, because you can drink on the boat. I'm just telling everybody, you can drink on the cruises. She's sitting at the bar, and this woman comes up to her and saying, "Oh, what a great Santa! I wonder what he's like at home." And Kim goes, "Yeah, he's a real SOB at home." And she goes, "What?" And she goes, "Yeah, I'm Mrs. Santa." And she goes, "No, I don't believe that. He must be wonderful at home." And she goes, "He thinks he's wonderful at home."
Yeah.
But
she never wanted to be a Mrs. Santa?
no, absolutely not. Kim, owning a costume shop, she does not. She likes to be behind the scenes. She likes to be the dresser, the makeup artist, getting actors to where they need to be. But being the center of attention or being in front, she hates it. She likes being in charge.
Yeah.
But she does not like being on stage.
In the spotlight.
In the spotlight, even though the costume shop is called Spotlight Costume, she doesn't like being in it.
That's about the extent of it.
That's the extent of the spotlight she likes to be in. But they called her up on stage once, during a show for a talk back, and she hated it. She hated every
mortified.
second. Not scared. She just doesn't like. She doesn't like people staring at her.
That makes sense.
But
that's fair.
It's cool. If that's the way it is, that's the way it is.
That's the way it is. Now, whenever you were coming up, did you have any sort of like background in like any sort of performing? Like, were you like a theater kid?
Yes, I was. I was in all the shows in high school. My two older brothers are fabulous dancers. My oldest brother used to teach dance at the 20th Century Club with Mario Melodia, in case anybody knows who that is. And my other brother, just natural, graceful, beautiful dancers. I look like the villagers are chasing me with torches. That is how badly I dance. I mean, I love to dance. Just organized dance is not for me. I'm my own. I dance to the beat of my own drum.
Yeah, march to the beat of your own drum.
And it's usually something chaotic. But yes, acting. I remember my grandmother saying to my brother, my oldest brother, "If you want to meet girls, get involved in theater." And it's 100% true. If you want to meet girls, and what guy didn't? Well, I'm sure there were quite a few guys in our shows that didn't.
Yeah.
But that's what I did. And I saw when I got to high school how they interacted with the girls, and it's like, I want that. I want to meet women.
And you were you liked the performance end of it all
yes,
too?
I loved it. I was in all the shows, all the plays, all the musicals in high school. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. I had wonderful teachers, wonderful instructors.
That's one thing I never did that I regret more than anything is never being in any of the performances through our high school. Mm-hmm. And, whenever you're in high school, it's, I was worried about football, something like that. But this is like a good outlet to scratch that creative itch. Almost, sure. Every year you're being able to do this. Mm-hmm. Do you play any other characters?
I've done, theater, and every so often if a friend who's directing needs somebody, I'm of the mind, I don't audition.
Yeah.
You know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Just tell me where you want me to be and I'll do it. But also, I don't love it. I enjoy it and I am good at it, but I don't love it.
Yeah.
I have friends who are actors who are fantastic, who love it.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things. You have to love it or you shouldn't bother doing it. And I like it enough to do it and do it well. My passions lie elsewhere, and it's not in acting or the stage, even though I enjoy it.
Yeah. What do you like whenever you're not being Santa and you're not working at the costume shop?
I'm a voracious reader. I love to read. But my passion is design. So I'm always, I have a car magazine all the time. That's what I did when I was little. I drew superheroes and cars.
Are you a car guy?
I love cars. If it's got wheels, I'm interested.
That's awesome.
So there's that. And, I enjoy reading anything from a technical journal to, Of Mice and Men. I love Steinbeck. So, things like that, the classics. I love movies. I watch movies all the time,
That's fantastic.
I do that. I do. I have a huge movie collection. And if I have a free moment, I will sit down and watch.
Are you a theater guy? You go to the movie theater?
Yes, I love going to the movie theater to see film. I will admit, and so will everybody else, that I am a theater snob because I've seen enough bad theater that I know what's good.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of good theater in Pittsburgh. There's a lot of bad theater in Pittsburgh, but that goes hand in hand with anything else. But yes, I do. I love going to the movie theater. I love that experience of sitting there in the dark with a bunch of strangers and watching something unfold.
Yeah, it's the best.
I'm a big Twilight Zone fan, and a friend of mine who used to work at the shop, said, "Oh, they're going to show Twilight Zone in the theater. They're going to show like at those Fathom events. They're going to show a bunch of different episodes.
That's cool.
And so we went, and what the best part of it was watching them with people who had never seen them.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the end of Time Enough at Last with Burgess Meredith, and he's got all his books, and he's sitting on the stairs, and he bends over, and he breaks his glasses, and this one person yells, "That's BS, oh my God." And I turned to them, and I said, "Now you understand the meaning of a Twilight Zone ending. That is what it is." And it was wonderful to hear people gasp and scream at stuff that I watched 100 times and still gasp and scream at because I love it so much.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I love it. I love the classics. I'm a big, right after Thanksgiving, I'm immediately jumping into Christmas movies and putting up my tree. I'm throwing an event coming up where I'm showing Home Alone and Gremlins, just things that I love,
and that's good. And what theater you're doing at the Broadway?
Parkway
Theater. I went there to see, they were doing, it was a documentary about Boris Karloff.
Oh, yeah.
Because we were doing a show, a one-man show about Boris Karloff, and we got to speak to his daughter.
Oh, wow.
And so we went to see it there. That is a fabulous place. I'm going to just give an unsolicited plug for the Parkway, and that place is great.
Ain't it cool?
It's the best. And the fact that you can rent it out and bring your own movies to watch.
100%.
Just bring a DVD of whatever you want.
For everyone that's listening, a shameless plug. December 18th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., I'm showing a Christmas double feature, Home Alone 1 and Gremlins at the Parkway Theater. You can get tickets, slide into the DMs. I got a link in the DM, or I got a link in my bio. Please come. It's going to be a great time. Snack table by Streets on Carson, beer from Abjuration Brewing, and a hell of a lot of good people. But I'm excited about it. That place was so cool. I love the theater that you could go to. They're going to have the big screen out front. You can watch the Steelers on it. I don't know. I like going to the theater. I'm a big go to the movie theater type of person. And with the pandemic and everything happening, everything is going straight to streaming.
Yes,
and
I hate that.
I mean, like, I get it. There's times where I like to be sitting on my couch watching something, but I agree. I like going to the theater a lot more. It's just different. It adds to it.
It has a feeling to it. It's it's because I'm old. I like going to the theater. That's where you see a movie.
Yeah.
And
did you see Top Gun?
No, I was never a Top Gun fan.
Me either.
Like the first one, I was never a Tom Cruise fan per se.
Fair.
And then I saw him in Oblivion, and it's like, that's fantastic stuff. And then I gave him another chance on other movies, and it's like when he did Jack Reacher, he was great in that. And so it's like there are movies of his that I don't care for, and there's movies of his that I just absolutely love.
And that's fair.
And I think that's with any actor. You can't love I love everything that he does. It's like, I guarantee you don't. There are probably some movies that a certain actor or actress is in that you do not care for.
100%.
And so, but I think he's fabulous in a lot of stuff.
He's good at what he does.
Risky Business was awesome.
Yeah, he's good. Outsiders, come on now.
Yes, The Outsiders is
fantastic. But everyone, I heard so much feedback about that new Top Gun. I wrote it off in the beginning. I was like, I don't give a shit about it. But I ended up going to the theater and seeing it, and that was like that's a perfect experience to see in the theater rather than streaming it.
Right, and I heard that too. And I'll tell you what turned me around to seeing movies in the theater again. When they brought out the Jerry Bruckheimer Star Trek.
Oh yeah,
the one with Chris Pine.
Yeah,
because I remember when the original Star Trek movie came out in '79, and I hated it because it was nothing like the TV show, and it was nothing like Star Wars. And it's like, oh, this movie is crap. I hate it. And so when they brought out the new one, I'm thinking, this is going to be crap. I'm going to hate it. I'll wait till it comes out on DVD.
You loved it, though.
I loved it. And I kicked myself. It's like, I should have gone to the theater. And so when they brought out the Into Darkness, I was right there at the theater. It's like, thank you for not being an idiot again. It's just one of those, like, there are certain movies you should see on the big screen. And that, if I had the money, I'd be at the Parkway every weekend with another DVD. I said, just
with your own DVD.
It's like there are certain things, like I'm being a cinephile. I like old movies.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge Steve McQueen fan. And when the Fathom events had Bullet, I went to see that with my brother, who's also a huge cinephile, and he gets me turned on to other old movies. Steve McQueen did his own movie in '71 called Le Mans, and it's about the race in France. That is a movie that I would love to see on the big screen, just because it's just a sweeping epic, and it's about cars, it's about racing. So you have to really love that to watch it, and if you don't love racing, don't watch it.
Yeah,
because it's very focused, one-minded type of film, but it's just epically cinematically shot.
You ever see Two-Lane Blacktop?
Love it.
So good. That's a slept on one.
Yes.
Not too many people know about that. James Taylor.
James Taylor. I've got a funny story about James Taylor, if you have a second.
I have it all the time in the world.
Wonderful. So James Taylor wanted his 2 children to go to Middlesex, where we do the shows twice a year. And our director gets called in, and there's James Taylor sitting there. And he doesn't make a big deal about it being James Taylor. He just sees him and he goes, it's James Taylor, because word's gotten around that James Taylor is looking at the school for his kids. And so he comes in and he's talking, and they're asking, well, what do you want your kids to, what's some of the stuff you want them to study? And they go, well, they're very musically inclined. And my friend goes, oh, really? Where did they get that? And all his contemporaries turn to him like, are you on crack? And James Taylor starts laughing. He goes, that's good. Thank you for that. That was very funny. And I mean, and he was sincere about it.
Seems like it. He said he's never watched any works that he's ever starred in. Any movie he's ever been in, he said he's never watched one. I was listening to that in an interview, and I thought that was pretty incredible. But it's I don't know. I love movies. Movies are it's easy. I was one of them kids that came home from school. Movies were on. My brother was 6 years older than me, so I never really had to adhere to the R ratings or anything like that.
I remember. It was when HBO first came on. It wasn't 24 hours a day. That's how long ago that it was that HBO only showed certain times a day. And my brother, who was really into soccer, wanted to watch this movie. It's called Victory, with Michael Caine and Sylvester Stallone, and it's about POWs in World War II that escape through the soccer match. And my father, I don't want you to watch that. That's R-rated. You're not allowed to watch that. It's about soccer. It's World War II. How bad can it be?
Yeah.
And really what it is there's a scene where they have to break somebody's arm. And they do it by stepping on it, in between 2 slats. And other than that sick crack, it's a World War II movie. There's nothing bad happened. Well,
yeah.
Not what I mean, nothing bad. It's World War II. Of course, everything bad happens in it, but it's not like there's, gratuitous sex or violence in it. It's just, it's a soccer match. It's tense. Yeah. Other than that, but
they're adhering to guidelines.
Yes, of course.
What about some Christmas films? What are some of your favorite Christmas films?
The much debated Die Hard. I love Die Hard. I think it's Bruce Willis. It says it's not a Christmas movie, but it takes place at Christmas, so it's kind of a Christmas movie.
I just ran a poll on Instagram because someone was like, I voted for Die Hard for the double feature because I did a poll.
Sure.
And I just saw Die Hard for the first time last year.
And what'd you think?
Very weird. I thought it was good, for what it was. I'm a typical sudden death fan,
Yes.
All them action movies, cheesy action. I love it. But I still don't get it as a Christmas film. It doesn't feel like that.
Oh, no.
To me.
I mean, I agree. It is not a Christmas movie, but it takes place at Christmas.
I get that.
So you kind of have that Christmas feeling to it, but it's not Scrooged.
Well, full circle, 60 people voted on this. 40 people said it is a Christmas movie, and 20 people said it is not. So, the majority follow along with your.
And I mean, it's not Christmas themed. It just happens to take place at Christmas.
Yeah,
and I've got a Bruce Willis story if you have time for that.
Love it.
So when he was here filming Striking Distance.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't per se come in. He has his people come in. They want a costume made for their daughter. I think rumored was the oldest. I can't remember which one's the oldest. But anyway, whichever one was the oldest at the time. They wanted, I think it was a Snow White costume made. And so we make it. We find a wig, we make the whole costume, the shoes, everything. They come and pick it up and go away. They pay us whatever we charge. And it was not an exorbitant amount. I think it was maybe $150.
Now, are you guys making all these costumes there?
We make 80% of them.
Yeah.
At the shop. Both Kim and her business partner who has since passed, they both have master's degrees in costume design from Ohio University.
Master's degrees.
So, like, if you need something from 1642 but not 1641, they will do it because, if there's subtleties in fashion.
Yeah. Stitching got to be perfectly, things
stuff
like that.
I mean, we're not doing stuff like how the Society for Creative Anachronism does it. We're not sewing with bone and sinew.
Yeah.
But it's going to look real. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be a theatrical costume. It's not going to be something you pull out of a package.
Wow.
So they get a call a couple of days later. Bruce wants to meet you. And they go, okay. So they go down to the set and they're standing around waiting. And all of a sudden, Kim hears, "Hi, I'm Bruce." She turns around and looks down, and it's Bruce Willis because he's short. He's not, this big, tall action star. I mean, he's not like microscopic.
Yeah, he's like 5'8", I think.
Right, he's shorter. She shakes his hand. He says, "Thank you." Kim says, "Oh, I'm so glad you're happy with it." They talk for maybe a minute or two, and then Kim says, "Well, I'm sure you're busy. I don't want to hold you up, so we'll take off." And they leave. A couple years later, Kim is hosting a costumers convention, and one of his board of directors is the keynote speaker. And so she meets her and she's talking and she goes, "Oh yeah, I did work for," and she goes, "Bruce talks about you all the time." And Kim's like, "Why?"
Bruce Willis
talks about moi. And she goes, "Because you're the first person that he had ever met that didn't ask for a picture, didn't ask for an autograph, didn't ask for money, didn't ask for an into the business. You didn't ask for anything. You shook his hand, you said you're welcome, and you were off."
Yeah.
You treated him like
a human being.
Like a human being. And that was it. Fast forward a couple years later, and we're at the shop. It's Halloween. Rumor Willis comes in because she was in Pittsburgh filming Sorority Row. And one of our employees, because we all have headsets, we're all talking to each other. And she goes, "Oh my God, I think that's Rumor Willis." And because Kim's on headset dealing with Rumor, Rumor hears it and she leans in and says, "I am Rumor Willis." And of course they all go nuts. And Kim just off the cuff says, "How'd you like the costume?" And she goes, "What costume?" And she goes, "The Snow White. How did you like the Snow White costume? I've always wanted to know." And she goes, "Oh my God, this is that Spotlight Costumes," because it had the tag in it. That we have tags that we put in everything.
Yeah.
And she goes, "I loved it. I wore it until it wouldn't fit me anymore. It's been on every child in our family, all my cousins, and it still looks brand new because of the way you built it. The only thing that wore out were the shoes, but the costume is still pristine because of the way you built it." And she goes, "I'm glad." And she goes, "It was wonderful. Thank you for a wonderful childhood memory."
That's incredible.
But it was nice. And it's just happenstance. It's not anything planned. It just...
Yeah, but that's cool. That's a cool story.
It is. It's a fun story, and it just goes to show. And when Rumor Willis comes in, you see all the pictures of her in the tabloids, and you see all the stuff about other celebrities. You can't believe any of it because it's not true. She came in and she was as real can be. We've had other celebrities come in, like Chris Kattan came in for whatever reason. He was filming something, came in and bought a costume, and he was as nice as can be. We've had the starting lineup of the Pittsburgh Penguins came in one year.
They get all the Christmas costumes, like the elf costume and everything.
They did for a couple years when we were on the South Side. They did.
Okay.
Because Maxine Talbot lived right
in Southside,
around the corner from us, and so we'd see him every morning walking. His girlfriend saw him, and he's like, "Hey, Ron, how you doing?" It's like he knows my name.
Yeah.
And just really cool. And Sidney Crosby would come in and ask for Kim by name. He goes, "Is Kimberly here?" And it's like, "Yeah, you want to talk to her?"
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And if you just treat everybody the same way, which is decently,
yeah, like
it's
a
wonderful.
human being.
Yeah, like a human being. And they would get stuff. And I remember because we have, I wouldn't know them if they walked in the door because I don't follow sports. But I will tell you that Sidney Crosby, we asked him because we had an employee that lived down at the other end of Carson Street. Like he was getting ready to go. And I said, "Mr. Crosby, one of our employees is dying to meet you." And he goes, "Okay, I've got some time." He waited 45 minutes
Jeez.
just to meet somebody who wanted to meet him. And
Wow.
I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And he was kind. Anybody who wanted to, who just happened to come in and noticed, oh my God, this is Sidney Crosby at Spotlight Costumes. He would talk to them. He would put his arm around them and get a picture, take selfies, all that stuff.
That's great.
Not being a sports fan, I became a Penguins fan just because of how nice they were to everybody. When the Pittsburgh Pirates would come in every so often, like a certain pirate would come in, I didn't know who they were, but somebody would say, oh, by the way, that's so-and-so. It's like, oh, really? Nicest people. The nicest,
I bet.
Just real down to earth, and they love their fans. That's
usually how it goes.
Yeah, because I think they realize without their fans, they don't have a career. They may have a career, but nobody's wearing your jersey if you're not a nice person.
I agree with that.
Nobody wants to emulate you if you're not nice to be around. If you blow people off and you're like, well, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because people want to make that connection with you. It's like, I'm a Pittsburgher and you play for Pittsburgh, so you're one of us, and we're like friends, and family and stuff like that. So
it's like that memory. You want that memory to mean something. It's almost like whenever they're meeting Santa.
Right.
Now, whenever you're working at this costume shop, like, do they ever since there's a lot of films being filmed here in Pittsburgh, like, do you guys get, contacted by a lot of this stuff? Is there a lot of costume shops?
No, unfortunately, we are the last one. We are the last theatrical costume shop in Pittsburgh because, Costume World, which was down in the Strip, they closed up when they were starting to do, they sold the building and they still have stores elsewhere. But, we're the last ones that do what we do. I mean, there's still, of course, the 30-day stores and stuff like that, but we're the last place you can rent a costume. Wow. And people go, oh, aren't you glad that, they're out of business? And it's like, no. And they go, well, why? I said, because people lost their jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's fun. It's nice to be the only game in town, but the road to that meant that somebody lost their job. I mean, we had nothing to do with, the other places closing.
Yeah, but that's a reality.
But the reality is there's somebody who doesn't have a job. There's somebody who's scrambling to figure out how they're going to pay their rent or buy groceries or get shoes or glasses for their kids. That's not happy at all. And so it doesn't make me happy. I mean, we stood out because we did stuff that other costume shops didn't do. There's room enough. There's business enough in Pittsburgh for everybody.
Yeah, I bet there is.
So, I would not be happy that somebody else wasn't there because somebody else, like I said, they don't have a job.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that's the unfortunate part of it all.
It is, and that's unfortunately part of what the pandemic did. Is it made everybody tighten their belts? I mean, we barely made it through the grace of God and the good nature of our landlord. We were able to stay in business. So that was, and with a little help of our friends, we started to GoFundMe, and so that helped. With a little bit of money. Kim has some very, I don't want to say well-heeled because that sounds very elitist, but she has friends that gave her lots of money to help her stay in business, so that was nice. People who believed in her that wanted to invest in the company.
Yeah, to keep it going.
Yeah, to keep it going. So
something unique like that.
Yes. So we are very lucky. We have lots of friends and probably more friends than we think we'd have. So
that's great. Now, you said before we started recording this, the amount of Santa costumes that you have in store there, do you have all different varieties? We have different, so we have the corduroy ones, we have velvet ones, we have lined velvet. So the lined velvet ones would be something if you were going to be outside. Yeah, like at a parade or something. Because we have lined velvet, and then we have lined fur ones that are really heavy duty that you wouldn't want to wear inside. But, if you were doing something like you were going to be the Santa on the back of a fire truck or in a parade. Now, was I reading somewhere that 80% of all of the Santa costumes in the world came from Pittsburgh at one time?
At one time at Halco, yes, you are correct. Because we were the only domestic manufacturer, and then when they closed, they're a none.
That was the only people that made Santa costumes. People,
yes. Halco started out. The owners made their fortune. They were cardboard boxes to ship hand grenades in. That's how he made his money during World War II.
My goodness,
he got the patent on that, and then they did Halco Halloween costumes, like if you remember Ben Cooper costumes in the box with the plastic window on it, they did costumes like that for a long time, and then they got into doing Santa suits. And
wow!
So there was the Santa suits, it's the wig and beards, all the accessories, and it was a lot of fun. It was a good fun time when it lasted. And I will tell you that I lost my job after, I had another job other than the costume shop. And after 9/11, they let me go because of whatever reason. And when they as soon as they heard that, they called up and they said, come to work tomorrow. You have a job here.
Oh, you worked for Halco?
I worked for Halco for quite a few years.
Oh, I didn't pick that up in the beginning.
Oh, sure. And I mean, that's how I know all the information.
Yeah.
And in 2004, I had to have triple bypass surgery.
My
March
goodness.
of 2004. And I was at the doctor's office. They had me on the treadmill and they sat me down and said, listen, you need to have heart surgery in the next 24 hours or you're going to be dead.
Yeah.
Because it was 290 and 100% blockages, and one was in the Widowmaker. And I said, well, okay. And I called people that needed to know, my boss, and I called Kim. And when Halco found out, and I said, I'm going to lose my job. And the owner, Alan Hoffman, he goes, don't worry about it. You're fine. I got paid my full salary from March until July when I was cleared to go back to work.
Wow.
No ifs, ands, or buts. He goes, don't worry about a thing. I've got you covered. I know you're good for it.
That's amazing.
And, I doubt there's many, if any, companies
that would do things like that.
Existed then or exist now. He was a fantastic boss. He'd buy us lunches all the time, gifts.
What did you do for them? Did you make the costumes?
Oh, no, I'm not allowed to touch anything expensive. I worked in the warehouse. I worked in acquisitions and dispersals, which means I would bring the Santa suits in, then I'd pack them up and send them out to the customers. But fantastic people to work for, treated everybody like family. Gifts at the holidays, every September 11th, we got a day off with pay because he was a patriot like that. He just believed it. On that day like that, you should be home with family.
Day of remembrance.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Is that still a brand?
Halco?
Yeah.
They sold to another company. So I'm sure if the company that purchased them is smart, they will still use the Halco name if they're allowed to, because
that's the name that rings the bell.
That's the name that says quality.
Is that what kind of suit you have?
I have an American-made Santa suit. And believe it or not, the quality of Halco suits are so good. That's only my second one in 31 years.
My goodness.
It just, the lap wore out on the old one, so I had to get a new suit.
Wow. Is there anything you think that we didn't cover as far as you being Santa Claus?
As being Santa, I think we touched on a lot of stuff.
I'm trying to think if there was any questions that I had, but I feel like you did a pretty great job explaining.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. If you have anything else, I mean, we went through the good stories and the bad stories and the.
You got any goals? How long do you think you want to do this?
As long as they want me. I know this sounds schmaltzy, but as long as children believe in me, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Because that's what's important. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of, have I made a child's life better?
Yeah.
Just for a moment. Because that's, like I said, that's what I would want. As a kid or as a parent, this is a big deal for them. And so I want to make the experience that they have with me the best that can be for the time that they're with me, because that's all we really have to offer each other is
that
time,
moment.
Is time.
Yeah.
That's all. That's really the only commodity that's really ours, is the time we have to give to each other. Money is fleeting, so are gifts. But, at your funeral, nobody's going to say what kind of car you drove and be talking about that. They're going to be talking about how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And that's really what I want to take.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
When do you think that you stop believing in Santa Claus?
You know what? People have asked me that, and I've always thought about that, and I really don't know.
I thought about that last year. I could not think about it.
I remember going to see Santas at, downtown at Kaufman's or Gimbel's, and it's like...
Was it pretty wild back then, like going for the Christmas downtown?
Yeah, it was. I remember that.
I feel like there's nothing now. There's light up night.
Yeah, there is light up night, but you would go into one of the department stores downtown, and there was Santa. You could go like where all the toys, like a toy department, and there was Santa. And I remember I didn't get in trouble, but they had a place where children could shop for Christmas for other people, and I had my money. I just went shopping for myself, and I come out with this bag, and my mother's go, "Well, what did you get, Bobby?" Oh, I was supposed to shop for other people.
Yeah.
I just bought for myself, and I think that's where I started to go wrong. Is like it's like I'm in this for me. They're on their own. They can shop for whatever they want.
Yeah, buy what you want.
Buy what you want. This was my $10.
I was trying to think of like my age of like when I remember any of it. And I remember my dad I remember looking on Christmas Eve, I remember looking out the window and seeing my dad wheeling in a bike. Mm-hmm. But, I don't know if that was the moment that I like necessarily,
Sure. I mean, I always knew that there were gifts that my parents bought.
I knew that too. But they were usually wrapped in different paper.
Right. There was wrapped in different paper. But the gift that said from Santa strangely had my mother's handwriting on it.
Yeah, same handwriting.
My goodness, you write like a woman, Santa. But I don't remember. There was never like an epiphany. It's like, oh my God, this has been a sham all along.
Yeah.
I've been
wasn't like an older brother that was like Santa ain't real.
Nope, nothing like that. I've never felt like, oh my goodness, I've been bamboozled all these years.
Last year, that picture that I sent you of me and the Santa with that's my goddaughter. She is she's getting into the early teens, and last year her dad, I heard him, it was the same thing. I went into my brother's house. That's where he has everything, and I wasn't dressed or anything yet, but I heard her dad being like, hey, if you know anything is up, don't say nothing to no kids, because she's the oldest kid.
Sure.
And she's like, what? And like doesn't really understand. He's like, if you notice anything weird, don't you bring it up or nothing. And like didn't even know that I was going to dress up. And I came in and she sat down on my lap and she's like looking at me and like tilting her head, and she goes, I know. And I was like,
it's like out of some horror movie.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. And it was cool though to have that moment with her, because like, I don't know, I'm hoping to ask her. I want to wait until like, the whole mystique is gone, so I could ask her and, kind of, like, what does that make you think? Seeing me dressed up as Santa Claus, that obviously, I'm your godfather. Like, right. That I'm not Santa Claus, but I don't know. There's always just them interesting things, because I know at one point these kids are going to know who I am.
Oh, sure. And you're hoping that what they take away from it is that you cared so much about my experiences that you
let that part go.
You guided me through it.
Yeah, it's that movie magic.
Right, exactly. I do remember my middle brother, who has the two children. He brought his son, who was 4 at the time, on, and I was so jazzed, because he was the firstborn nephew, and he's coming on the boat, and I got to be my best Santa ever. And when I do Santa, I know that there are children coming on that know me, I will wear a different cologne. I will do everything to try and disguise myself. And so I did that, and I sit up real straight, and I try to deepen my voice. And he comes up, and he sits on my lap, and he goes, hey, Uncle Ron. And I'm thinking to myself about my brother. It's like, you son of a bitch, why did you tell him? And after the cruise is over, I go up to him. I said, Jimmy, why did you tell him it was me? And he goes, I didn't. He just knew for whatever reason. And it was like, as soon as he sat down, he looks at me and, hey, Uncle Ron, how you doing? That's like, oh.
It's like a Kevin McAllister. He's like, I know you're not the real Santa Claus, but I also know you work for him.
Yes. So there's little things like that. It's like, it was refreshing, but disappointing. It's like, okay, well, I don't have to hide it anymore.
Yeah, all the spectrums of it all.
Right. It's like, all
comes
right.
with the territory.
It does. It wasn't a real disappointment, but I would have, I guess, more selfishly would have liked him to really believe for a moment.
Yeah, lean into it.
It's like, but Nolan has never been like that. He wants to know everything right up front. I remember my brother telling me, he asked if all these, like, is a Easter Bunny real? Is all these people? And he goes, I just need to know if you're lying to me or not. And Jimmy just goes, yeah, they're all fake.
I like that.
And it's like,
I like it. Kids crack me up.
Oh, they do. The things they ask, the things that they they're very perceptive. They are much smarter than we give them credit for.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm sure you get more of an interaction than a lot of people in the world get because, how many kids are you going through a day while you're there?
I thought about that. Over 31 years, there's at least 20 cruises per year.
You said they're 2 hours apiece?
2 hours apiece. So that's on average, I would say between 150 and 200 children per cruise times 20 cruises times 30 years.
Yeah, that's insane.
And it's like, don't ask me to do that math. I can't, even doing it on a calculator makes my head hurt.
It's like 32,000.
Yes. I think about all the children, all the wishes and all that. And I hope that out of those plus or minus 32,000 children that I got to see, that I made it special for a couple. So.
That's good. That's good. All right. During the ending segment of all the podcasts, I do a segment called Desert Island Questions.
Sure.
If you would be so kind.
I would be happy to.
Yeah. Okay. Desert Island Questions is whenever I give each guest 3 categories to take with them on a desert island and use until they starve to death and die. Okay. So the first category is 3 movies to take. So you get a DVD player, an integrated TV DVD player, and you get 3 DVDs for the rest of your life to watch over and over and over again. What would they be?
Probably the 3 DVDs that I watch right now over and over again. I am a huge fan of bad film. Bad movies, things like that. And probably the first movie would be the 1977 epic starring James Brolin, The Car.
The Car.
It is an absolute piece of shit, but it stars Ronnie Cox and James Brolin, and I love it. I watch it all the time. It's one of those movies that I can quote verbatim.
Yeah.
I love it
even
that
the
much.
Cadence.
Yes, I love
James Brolin, is that Josh Brolin's?
That's Josh Brolin's dad.
Oh, dad. Okay.
And also husband to Barbara Seinfeld. Not Seinfeld, Barbara Streisand.
That's
Barbara
it.
Seinfeld. No,
yes,
that's a different person.
As soon as you said Seinfeld, I was like, why can't I think of that name?
Because it's the wrong name.
So The Car.
So that's number 1. Probably the original Godfather would be number 2. And there is another movie that I absolutely love, and it's called The Final Countdown, and it stars Kirk Douglas, and it was Kim's father's favorite movie, and it's where the aircraft carrier goes back in time, and they're at Pearl Harbor, and they are going to stop the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor.
I've never even heard of that.
It's a magnificent film.
When's it from?
I think it's 81 or 82.
I love a nice 80s movie.
But it's really cool. The music is absolutely fantastic. If you've ever seen a laser tunnel, in the fog, that is the first movie to use it as a special effect.
No way.
Yes. And when you're watching it, you're going to say these effects aren't very special because in comparison to today, they are not. But those are the 3. But there are so many other movies that.
Well, now I'm going to bank on. I'm going to expand this. So sure. I usually ask people just 3 regular movies. But if you had to pick 3 Christmas movies, what would they be? Oh
my goodness, that would have to be Scrooged with Bill Murray.
Okay,
that's my absolute favorite. Cry at the end. I don't care how tough you are. I cry at the end at that speech every time. Next would be Christmas Story with, is that Peter Billingsley?
Yeah.
I love that. That is absolutely hilarious.
Did you watch the sequel?
No, not yet. I heard it's incredible though.
I didn't watch it yet. I have to admit, I kind of loathe the Christmas Story because it got beat to death on TV.
Oh, sure. Of course it does. I remember one year because Kim hates it, but we were watching it. It was when it was on 24 hours continuously. Yeah. So we're watching it. She leaves the room. She comes back like an hour or so later, and it's almost in the same spot. And she goes, and she doesn't know it's running continuously. It's like because Kim doesn't watch TV.
It's like a bad Twilight film.
She goes, "How is this on again?" And it's like, "Oh, I don't know. Maybe you're just thinking you're seeing it again." But that's number 2. What other Christmas movie? I'm just going to go against convention and say Die Hard.
Die Hard, that's good.
I mean. Believe it or not, I am not like Christmas movies. I don't like the schmaltzy ones. That's not my thing.
Yeah. Are you like a Christmas horror film? Like, did you watch Krampus or anything?
No. As I'm not really into horror. I like suspense. Like if you're going to go with horror, I like the old 50s big bug monster movie type horror movies. I'm not
Krampus, I have to say, is not really a horror. I would say it's more, comedy,
Sure.
But that's like an instant classic.
I will have to check that out. But I'm not, as far as horror movies goes, I'm not a gore for the sake of gore. Like if something belongs there, that's great. But if it's like you're just doing it to be over the top, it's not for me.
Yeah. Horror film, the extent, Gremlins, love it. Sure. That's a perfect line for it, horror. Okay, second category, 3 books to take on a desert island.
Oh, my goodness. Anything by Steinbeck. So Of Mice and Men, Grapes of Wrath, definitely would be one of them. I love anything like technical. There's a book called Wizards of Armageddon, and it's about the U.S.'s nuclear policy in the 80s. And there's companies in California called Sandia, and there's another one that it's escaping me right now, but it's talking about scenarios of defense scenarios and stuff like that about what would happen and how we could win. And it's to read it now, it's absolutely comical because it's like it's a no-win situation. But back then they thought, well, if we do this, we'll be fine. We'll be able to go out and have a barbecue tomorrow. And it's like, no, you drop one and it's over for everybody. And so I just like to read that, to think about,
where people's minds were
people's
back then.
mindset were. It's like, and the people were paid millions, if not billions of dollars over the course of years to try and figure out how we can nuclear annihilate somebody else. And it's like,
it's wild.
It's like, you have to realize that this is all moot because it's not going to work. And book number 3, I'm trying to remember anything by Philip Marlowe, a detective book, something like that. I love things like that.
That's good.
Anything noir, it just has that feel to it.
Okay, that's good. Third category, 3 CDs to take on a desert island.
Oh my goodness, I like obscure music. So there's probably groups that people don't have heard of. There's a British group from the 80s called Level 42. They did. I'm sure people have heard it. Something About You was their first big hit in the United States. I love them, and I could listen to them all the time. Chicago. I'm a huge Chicago fan. Anybody who knows me, who's ever had to work with me in the store, we have a record player at the store, and I play all my Chicago albums to the point where people will actually beg me to remove them. So Level 42 in Chicago, and probably the Scorpions. Scorpions Worldwide Live is probably my favorite live album.
That'll get you going.
Even though Frampton Comes Alive is great, and any of the Kiss Alive albums are fantastic, I would say Scorpions Worldwide Live. Those are good.
Those are all very good. All different spectrums.
Right, and I think if you have a good like a varied taste in no matter what it is, whether it's music, whether it's film, books, it's one of those, the more you know. Yeah. I think that the more you experience, it's better. You don't have to love everything. You don't even have to like everything.
It's all reference point, though.
If you just try it, you never know if you like it or not.
Yeah, my buddy, he's actually the interview that I just did last week. He just put out his first book, and he was talking about it, and I was like, he was talking about a goal that he wanted to do was to read a book every week of the pandemic, and he read a good bit, but I was like, well, how do you pick that many? And he was like, honestly, once you're reading that many, you just grab them. Yeah. And he was like, anything that I read didn't matter if I was really interested or not, because at that point, it gives me a reference point at some point in life. I'll hopefully be able to apply that towards things. And I was like, it's interesting to think about. But okay, the third to last question is something called the death row meal.
Death row.
So the death row meal is whenever you're about to get put to death and you get your last meal before they do that. Now you get to pick an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert.
That would be J-Lo. No, I'm sorry.
I was like, is that a different type of food?
It depends. No, real food, appetizer. Does it have to be? Does it have to be like a dinner food, or
No, it could be anything you want.
I would probably choose a like lox and cream cheese, lox and bagels.
Some capers on there?
Capers, absolutely. The whole schmear.
Yeah.
That, a tomato juice, and some cottage cheese. And I'm happy as a pig in shit.
Wow. Tomato juice. I love a tomato juice.
Oh, so do I.
Okay. What about a dinner?
Dinner, probably, if it's in season, a McRib.
A McRib?
A McRib. 2 of those with extra pickles, extra onions.
Wow.
But if it's not in season, the biggest steak you can find, the old 96er would be great. Smothered in mushrooms with mashed potatoes and broccoli on the side.
It works.
It works.
That's probably the most chosen dish for the death row meal is a steak, potato, and vegetable, which is understandable. What about dessert?
Kim makes a fabulous dessert called raspberry trifle. Raspberry trifle. And it is angel food cake. And it has to be Nichols angel food cake or it's not the same. Thank you brand vanilla pudding, raspberries. And if you wanted to, you can spike it with wine.
Oh,
and then Cool Whip on top of it. And it is a huge crowd pleaser no matter where we take it.
Wow, that sounds fantastic.
It is magnificent. She makes it in a gigantic glass punch bowl so you can see all the layers going.
Oh, wow. That does sound great.
Depending on the crowd you're with, you either spike it with white Zinfandel or you don't. So if we're going to see my family, you put as much booze in it as possible.
All right. Second to last question is if you're getting ready to go on, you're getting ready to deliver all these toys to all these kids and you stop at a gas station to pick your snack. What's your snack of choice?
Probably a Mountain Dew and a whatchamacallit.
A whatchamacallit?
Whatchamacallit. I like those obscure candy bars.
I have never had one. Someone else picked it on here and I was like, I've never had one in my life.
It's I don't even know. I remember when they brought them out in the 80s, it's like, this sounds great. I'm going to have that. And they had a whatchamacallit and they had another one that had peanuts and I forget what it was called. I think maybe a Whoozy What's It or something like that. Thingamajig.
Yeah.
And it didn't do well. But the whatchamacallit held on and
they still make them, I guess?
They still make them and they make
I got to get one.
a king size and that's the way to go.
I got to get one. Okay. Last question that I ask everyone. If you could have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Probably my father.
And that's an assumed answer, a loved one, father, grandparents, something like that. If you had to choose someone that you were not affiliated with, if you had no ties to them personally.
I would probably say Malcolm X. Because I'm fascinated by, the epiphany that he had, because he was very militant at first. And then there's, if anybody has ever seen the Spike Lee movie, it's absolutely magnificent. But that epiphany he has when he goes to Mecca to make his rounds and he sees that Muslims come in all colors. They come in white, blue-eyed, blonde-haired Muslims. That it's not just, people from Middle Eastern countries or people from Africa that are Muslims, that it's everybody can be a Muslim, everybody can believe the same thing, yet look different. And then when he comes around and saying that, I've been wrong in saying that it has to be just this. I'd like to hear it out of his mouth about, where
how he changed, because
where he came from being this militant person to being more accepting of others and wanting to work with others, because when he came back from Mecca, that's when he had the falling out with the Islamic Brotherhood. And then he started working more with Martin Luther King and working more towards a path towards peace and peaceful resolution of problems. And unfortunately, that's when he was murdered as well.
That's a good person to pick.
There's so many.
There's so many.
You'd want to pick their brain and say, hey, what were you thinking here? And
I've heard everyone's answers, and it's always interesting to hear what people think. People have picked Jesus on here. People have picked, obviously loved ones. I always I try to think who I would pick in that time, and it always, kind of goes back to like Robin Williams or Richard Pryor.
Sure.
Because it would be, I don't know. I envision this as just like, in this situation, you're just sitting in a waiting room with
Sure.
someone for a couple hours.
Yeah.
So it's, it would always be interesting.
The reason I picked my father is, he died when I was 13. And unfortunately, he was very physically abusive to us.
Yeah.
I don't think he was ready to be a father, but, then he had 4 kids. And a couple years ago, Kim went to see the Angel Ladies, which are psychics. And
They're local?
yes, they're local.
I know of them.
And I don't put a whole lot of stock in it, although I have seen Kim be psychic and be spot on. She predicted her brother's death to the day of when it was going to happen. And so she went to see them, and I didn't want to see them because, I'm not paying that money.
Yeah.
Because I'm as Scottish as they get. But during the readings, everybody kept saying, the ladies were saying to the people, somebody keeps butting in, somebody keeps wanting to talk. And then when Kim got there, they asked, do you know a John, a Jack, a Jackie? And Kim didn't, knew my father's name was John. And she goes, maybe it's Ron's father. And they go, that's him. That's what they're saying. He's saying, I'm that. And he told her things through those Angel Ladies that only I would know, that I had never told anybody.
Yeah.
And he said to her, the thing that I need you to tell Ron is I need his forgiveness for being abusive to him. And they said to him, why are you telling Kim? Why don't you contact him another way? And he said, and I quote, because she is the only one he'll listen to.
Wow.
Which is true. And so after that, all that animosity and all that stuff that I had been carrying for decades, gone.
Yeah.
And so, and it's just one of those things. And that's why I would like to speak to him just to,
Yeah.
I mean, I know he knows, but it would just be nice to be able to say, we're cool.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair answer. Ron, I appreciate you coming by and
Oh, it was
talking to me
great
about
fun.
this.
I had a wonderful time. I'm so glad that you asked me to. I very much enjoyed every moment of this.
I enjoyed it too. I really do. I enjoy, I enjoy what you stand for and what you do. And, it takes a special person to be Santa Claus.
I appreciate it. I mean, I don't think it does. I mean, I appreciate what you're saying, and I take that with everything that it comes with, but I think it's very easy because it comes easy to me because I want it.
Yeah.
I want that feeling that I get. I want everybody else to have it.
Well, you would hope that other adults would want that.
Oh, sure. I mean, but as adults, we become jaded.
Exactly.
We lose the magic as we get older because we don't need it.
Exactly. And I like to keep it alive as long as I can.
I embrace that, and I hope that you're able to, and I hope that your niece is able to keep mum about it.
Yeah, I bet you she will.
And I look forward to hearing from you about when you're able to question her about, how did you feel about certain things and
Absolutely.
whatnot. So I look forward to that story.
Now, where could people find you if they want to, how could people, Gateway Clipper?
They can. I have a Facebook page and an Instagram page, and it's called Steel City Santa. And I've got pictures up of different things that I've done. If they want, even though my schedule is very tight, I do, and I will come to your house if you want pictures like in front of your tree. During the pandemic, that's what I did. I said, you want something that is, special and unique to your home. I'll come and if you will invite me into your home, I will come and I will sit and take pictures. You can take as many as you'll want.
Yeah.
Things like that. And at the time of the pandemic, I said, pay what you want. And some people, no, I shouldn't say some, everyone was extremely generous in what they gave. So, I mean, and that's negotiable. I'm totally open to negotiation.
But people could reach out to you on your Facebook page
Facebook
or your
page.
Instagram.
They could also, if they want to, they can call Spotlight Costumes.
Oh, yes.
Because, they'll take a message there if I'm not working there, or they can stop in. But Steel City Santa on Facebook or on Instagram is a direct line to me, and that I'll answer them. But yeah.
And then you could scroll right up on this episode and you will have his links right in the description. You could click on them and it'll take you right to his pages. But I appreciate everyone else that's listening. Please, if you have not yet, accompany me on December 18th to a perfectly curated Christmas event to help take you back to being a kid again. We're watching Home Alone and Gremlins at the Parkway Theater. Link is in my bio, but appreciate it, and I will call you right back.